Hey everybody, it's Rob here. Welcome to my Season 7 tier list with the best builds for the upcoming season starting in just 2 days on Tuesday. There's a ton of cool and new builds that you can play, and we'll go through all the classes and we'll go through all the builds here in this list. Before we start, guys, a quick disclaimer that my tier list does not strive to rank every single build in the game. We're only talking about the top options here. There's going to be a full sheet here that you can follow, where it's also the links and the planners as well in the description. We have all the planners up here on the 4 builds as well. Everything is fully updated, and you can kind of see the new witch powers and all the new gems and all the new stuff basically here. So keep that in mind. We also will update the tier list throughout the season. And this is just my best guess, guys. It's a lot of copium, you could say. We have not played the final patch. I'm just sharing my thoughts here on what the best builds might be. We also have like a full class power ranking, basically. We'll talk about that in a bit. So starting at B tier here, guys, we have the Lightning Spear and the Ball Lightning Sorcerer. There are a ton of cool changes coming for especially the Ball Lightning Sorcerer. However, it does not seem to do enough DPS. Even though this is a fan favorite build, this is not ranking higher than B tier because the DPS in the highest levels is just not there. However, this is still going to be pretty strong to clear T4 and to do speed runs because Sorcerer historically has a lot of mobility, and the Ball Lightning build sure is better than it was last season with some of the new offense here. So just keep those in mind. We're not really going to talk about all the kind of lower rated builds here. We're going to go B tier and up basically. And then we have some Spiritborn builds here, Crushing Hands. The Resolve stacking has been changed a lot. We have Touch of Death, we have Stinger, Payback, Thorns here. And these are still pretty strong. However, there are still stronger Spiritborn builds. It's going to be the Quill Volley. We'll talk about that in a second as well. That is still going to remain pretty strong in the top tiers here. But a lot of them have fallen out, especially, again, the Crushing Hands, because they completely removed Resolve stacking, basically. There is one Sorg build, however, that moved up quite a bit. This is the Firebolt. This is always strong with Shatter, and they also did buff the Firebolt enchantment and various other stuff here for the Sorg, making fire builds pretty strong because now you basically unleash an extra Firebolt at nearby enemies, helping the AoE clearing of this build. And this was historically like a very single target focused initially, and now you have some more AoE damage. So this is looking to be the strongest Sorg build, the Firebolt Shatter Sorg. We also have, again, all the planners here ready. They're all in the sheet, in the description, and you can kind of see here like what kind of like vampiric powers and kind of like new fire stuff you can play with this kind of builds. Then we have some Barb builds here, like in the lower tiers as well. We have the pure Hoda Barb. However, there's a much stronger version with Hoda combined with Earthquake. But there's also been quite a few buffs, to the base Hoda version here with some of the chests, and also in the patch notes, there was like a ton of direct buffs to some of the Hammer of the Ancients DPS multipliers. So the pure Hoda Barb still ranking pretty solid in B tier. You still have Deathblow, Bash Barb in general. Overpowers are pretty strong. You also have some cool stuff like the Dance of Knives that you can now also combine pretty much with the Shadow Clone. So this is going to be a strong contender, making a lot of rogue builds rank in A tier. I'm not quite sure if they're going to be S tier, and there might be some potential here, but I ranked most of the builds in A tier on rogue. Just because of the Shadow Clone and also some of the general power that they have. Like, I think the Shadow Clone combined with stuff like Twisting Blades or even Scoundrel's Kiss can be extremely powerful and fun to play. So really looking forward to see some of the rogue stuff because that looks hella cool. So going back to the list here, we have Twisting Blades here, pretty decent. Dance of Knives is still kind of good for speedruns, but it kind of drops off in the higher tiers. And then you also have the Wolf Companion Druids, and in general, like summons and all these minions have received some pretty cool buffs, so this is still very strong. Also, Hurricane here, still snapshots overpower and is pretty strong. But yeah, going on to B tier now, we'll talk about every single build here. We have the Shred Druid. There is a crazy rework to the Blood Beast. Shred Druid has been one of the fan favorite builds here that is super fast in terms of speed, and you can just have a ton of fun on this build in general. There's also another contender here on the Druid. This is the Boulder Druid. However, I moved this down to B tier now because this footage here is from the PTR, And as you can see, there was a bug on the PTR, basically allowing this druid to deal infinite damage with Boulder. So you might ask, Rob, where's the Boulder druid? Like, this used to be S tier build, but it has been moved down. I believe it might still be able to be comfortable in B tier. However, this infinite damage scaling bug has been nerfed ever since. And there is some poison builds that you can do with the Boulder now that still remain pretty strong and I think are comfortable in the B tier. So I think Shred Druid overall is the second strongest Druid build. There's one more crazier one, the Cataclysm, which we'll talk about in a second. So then we have the Rapid Fire and the Rain of Arrows rogue here. Both are benefiting significantly, potentially, from the Shadow Clone. Rain of Arrows was already a very strong build and now is going to be even stronger with the new ultimate scaling that we kind of get in the game. And Rapid Fire, Scoundrel's Kiss combined with this Shadow Clone, like I mentioned earlier, might be extremely strong. Next, we have the Minion Summoner Necro. Now, this might not have enough DPS to quite make it into A tier. However, we still decided to list it into A tier because this is a very popular build and one of the best leveling builds for the Necro. Minion Summoner has always been crushing it in leveling. And Blizzard literally said, because the Necromancer is benefiting from all the damage multipliers now with the summons, that the Minion Summoner is as strong as it ever was in the current season. So I'm really looking forward to maybe playing some Minion Summoner Necro as a second character or something. Next on the Necro is eating really good this season and is looking to be the strongest class. We have the Blood Spear Necro. Basically, your Necromancer can shoot blood spears now. And together with the bone multipliers plus overpower guaranteed that you have on this class now, makes the Bone Spear very, very strong. It might even be a good build on leveling if you get one or two of these multipliers early on. And then Bone Spirit is always a strong contender with the overpower amount and the crazy essence scaling that you have with this. Next is the Mighty Throw Up. This is coming in as the second strongest barb build, only matched by the Hoda Quake barb. This is still pretty strong. However, the snapshots have been fixed here. So it's not going to be as overpowered as it used to be, because I think this is one of the builds that did 150. However, now still possible to do 130 plus. Then we have the Fireball Shattersock. We already talked about this. The enchant is extremely powerful. And also in the patch notes, we have a ton of Razor Wing buffs. So this has been juiced up a lot. So it's going to be a tight race here, I feel, between the two Spiritborn builds. Like, there is so much Razor Wing stuff. There's like new items here for the Razor Wings hitting pretty crazy. And in general, Eagle builds have been extremely powerful before and now are still extremely powerful, having even higher size caps for the Razor Wing. So you can have 15 boomerangs active. This is like the boomerang build. And this might be one of the new shiny builds on the Spiritborn. I'm pretty comfortable that Quill Volley and Razor Wings are going to be the strongest builds unless there's a crazy bug discovered. Just because Eagle is so strong. And every Spiritborn, obviously they've nerfed all these like crazy DPS outliers. However, the Quill Volley did not receive a specific nerf or targeted nerf. And while we only got very small buffs to stuff like Stinger, relatively, the Quill Volley build will still be the strongest, even if the entire class gets brought down due to the bug fixes. And Blizzard said in their campfire that they are looking to see Spiritborn as still some of the strongest classes. I don't really think that, unless there's a bug, that the Spiritborn is going to do 150, contrary to some of the builds that are in S tier. So here we are really getting at the juice here. Coming in at the third strongest build of the season, in my opinion, is the new Hoda Quake Barb. We got a ton of new aspects, and they also got buffed, giving you insane amounts of multipliers to the Earthquake. And we have the new chest, Mantle of the Mountain's Fury, giving, or basically making it possible to instantly explode your earthquakes while you play. This is how it looks like. So you basically shut down, put down the earthquake, and then you Hoda onto the earthquake, and it creates this like big fiery AoE explosions. This is some footage here without masterwork gear very early on the PTR. And this can even be played as like a semi-ranged character. And you can kind of see here the visuals look extremely cool, and it also is a ton of fun here. One-shotting stuff on 100 on a pit 100 already with very, very scuffed gear. And I'm very comfortable that this is going to at least push in the 140s, maybe even mid 140s, all the way to 150. We'll see. But I'm comfortable that 140 is going to be cleared, because there was also an entire aspect missing on this PTR. And yeah, the semi-ranged playstyle is really cool. This is going to be most likely the build that I'm going to be playing. Again, top 3 build here. Definitely the best bar build, and it's definitely eating good. I think it's strong throughout the game for everything that you want to do. Then coming in at number 2, Cataclysm Druid. This is an ultimate druid, and this is some footage here from iBoiler Up. It's also linked in the cheat sheet in the description below. And you can kind of see here how strong this is. Like, you basically mainly spamming the Cataclysm. And this is a pit 150. He's pulling in everything, and he's hitting the enemies for up to 100 trillion damage, completely melting these in this crazy tier. So I'll show you here, like, when he's doing a new pull. And this build just freaking rocks. You see, boom, the pixel pull. And it's like hitting the face of the monsters for hundreds of trillions of damage. And there's been very small tweaks and nerfs to this. For example, the willpower scaling on the Rune Master has been tweaked down a little bit. However, the DPS is still going to be somewhat similar to what you see here. And it's a pretty cool build, because you can basically run around, and this Cataclysm is like a storm from the sky who basically melts everything. You can see here, like, boom, how fast the packs melt. So the Druid is literally eating very, very good this season. Even though it has tiny legs, it's still blasting pretty strong and completely controlling the monsters here. Having a great time. And I was actually very surprised to see the Druid this strong, even after the boulder has been a bit nerfed. So he's going to spawn the boss here and actually does like a 5-minute 150 clear. And then coming in at number 1, the strongest build of the season, I already made a video about that as well on YouTube here, is the Blood Wave Necromancer. Now, this build has a tremendous amount of damage with overpower, is walking very fast, has an auto curse, and has an extremely strong pixel pull, basically allowing you to one-shot, at least on the PTR, everything in 150. Now, there are some nerfs here that make this build around 10-15 times weaker than it is here in this footage. However, if you watch closely, in this footage, you're hitting for thousands of trillions of damage. And even if you take away 1-0 or divide the damage by 15, you're still hitting for hundreds of trillions of damage. And it is expected from many Necromancer experts that this is also going to be a very early 150 clear. We'll have to see how exactly the mechanical scaling is, but you guys can kind of see here, like on the last hit, he was hitting this monster, or he was one-shotting this pack here, 1,000 trillion. So even if they nerf this, divided by 10, this is still like, you know, like 100 trillion hit, basically. And it's still completely insane. And it's probably going to be the first build to clear 150, and probably S tier is going to be the only builds that do 150. Now, obviously, there's always the risk that there is going to be some completely bugged, broken build that's going to, basically destroy everything and have infinite damage, just like we saw with the Hurricane Druid, with the Boulder Druid. But we'll see. This is just my personal ranking, and there's obviously even more builds down here, but I didn't really want to talk about all of them. I think there is a pretty decent balance. I would still wish that we would see some more Sorcerer buff, because Blizzard even said and acknowledged that Sorcerer is the weakest class. And they did some buffs. However, it felt pretty minor. And I think Sorcerer, this would be my current power ranking. I think Sorcerer right now, to me, seems to be the weakest class of the season. And Necro seems to be the strongest. And then we have this middle ground here, where I'm not really quite sure where we would rank this. Right now, I have Druid on rank 2, Barb on rank 3, Spiritborn on rank 4, Rogue on rank 5, and Sork on rank 6. But like this middle here, the power level is kind of equal, I feel. It's just the Necro is a bit of an outlier to the positive side, and the Sorcerer is a bit of an outlier to the negative side, in my opinion. But let me know what you think in the description down below. We also have a poll here going. Let me actually F5 this. For your starter class. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't really allow me to have all these poll options, but I'm also going to link this poll below. I think most people are actually going to start with the Necromancer. I also think there's going to be a ton of people playing Barbarian. And we'll see how this poll is going to turn out. We're probably going to make some more. And yeah, it's looking pretty cool though. The season is a ton of fun. I'm looking most likely to start the Hoda Quake Barb, maybe start Upheaval and then into Hoda and then into Earthquake. That's looking pretty strong. I'll make a separate video about that. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree, disagree with this list? There's definitely cool builds to play for each class. And I'm very much looking forward to start the Season of Witchcraft here in just less than 48 hours on Tuesday. Let's go, my friends. Stay tuned. Hope this helped you. And I'll see you soon. More videos coming. GG. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.